now it's all online. This has only been, what, 3 years, 4 years it's been online?
3, I think. 3.
And
We need to turn the lights down where y'all can see that.
It is 100% accessible by your staff by going on the DOE website. They got their sign in, and they sign in, and they can go straight to it at any time. And except for a few times during the year, it is you can manipulate it, you can change it, you can do whatever you need to do to it. There's a few times of the year. I think right now it's closed, if I'm not mistaken. It's closed now from now until middle June, when they have the what used to be the CEFPI conference. As a facility directors and architects and so on meet for a conference. And it used to be at Callaway Gardens. Is it still there? And up until that time, it's closed because during that time, this DOE is refiguring all the entitlements and so on. So they don't want anything to change in the plan while the entitlements being refigured. So, but they still can go into it every day. And after that window opens, they'll be able to go in and change it and add to or take away from. And every year, you have to update this plan. And ideally, in the old days, we would send out, the consultants would come out to the school system every year and say, okay, what have you done in your plan, what have you done in completion of projects, or what new projects do you want to add to the plan, and so on like that. But now, it's all done online. They'll send out a notice email to the superintendent and say, okay, it's time to update your plan, go in and take out anything that you've done, add anything that you're planning on doing. So this is the first page, this is the overview page. You go to the DOE website, and it's Welcome to Georgia DOE, and you go down to the bottom of the page, and it's got a place down that says My GADOE, and that's where they click on to go to this log on site. And you go in and log on, and it's got a bunch of stuff on there because there's a lot more stuff on the portal than just your plan. All your financials and all this other stuff that I don't even want to think about. Is in there for your superintendent and your finance people to look at, and your FTE coordinators look at it, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff on it. This is just the one thing that I'm familiar with. And so you click on the capital outlay planning, and this is what comes up. And you're only able to see your plan. You're not able to see towns and finance and plan, which sometimes we'd like to say, what are they doing over there? But you can only see your plan. And so this is the overview page. You can see this basic generic information that says this is the plan name, is version 2 that expires in 2021. Timeline is for changes is July 1 to April 15th of 2017. So that is July 1 is the when it opens back up for changes. Your expiration date is July 30th of 19. So in the year the 2019 year, we'll redo a whole new plan. I didn't realize it had been that long since we've done it. It's about a 4-year plan. They say it's a 5-year plan, but actually you renew it. By the time you get it renewed, you're already a year into it. So actually becomes a 4-year plan. And you do an annual update. Your superintendent has to certify it, and it tells you what your system is, and it's got your contact information in there. William Doug Suits is your DOE consultant. Chris Crow is obviously here, and Steve McCune is your architect of record. And so all those people's on there, and they provide information that goes into this plan. There's always that little statement down at the bottom there that your superintendent sometimes rewrites every year, sometimes they don't rewrite every year. It really doesn't mean a whole lot. The DOE does look at it occasionally to see, you know, what you're doing, what your plans are, if you've got something in there that becomes very important. As you can see here, this one says the growth is experienced by Union County has diminished, and that's not unlike most all the North Georgia systems. The growth has diminished since I guess the economic downturn, which happened in what, 2008 or so, along there. And so most school systems begin to change their focus from new construction to renovations, modifications, or replacing schools as they need to. But that statement usually is something put in there. And then you go up, and there's tabs. Go back up to the top. there's tabs for each part. And so we're gonna go through the tabs, but we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time on them because sometimes the information that you just get bogged down with. But I'll point out some important portions, and then we'll go from there. First tab is FTE projection. You know that your school system files the FTE reports twice a year for the state. There's a March count and there's an October count. And the March count is counted twice, and the October one time, and they average the three numbers together to get you what your FTE is for that year. And because they assume that the October count, you're going to have a lot of students that either is not in school or are going to leave school, but your March count is probably the most accurate one because that's toward the end of the year. So they report FTE, and you always want to look at this number right here. You'll see that they took the 2660, which is your 2016 reported number, and they subtract the 2012 number, which was 5 years previous, and they divide that by 4, and you get a number right there. That number is very, very, very important. That tells you whether you're losing students or you're gaining students. In your case, you're showing a growth of 27 students per year, and they're going to project your FTE over the next 5 years. You can see here in 2016 it's 2660. 2017 they added 27 to that to get 2687. So they're going to add that 27 more students on every year. So your 2021 projection is 2795. So for the purpose of planning by the DOE, that number right there is the number that they're going to go by to determine what your space needs are. They're going to look at 2,795 students in your FTE count in your system to determine how many IUs you need system-wide, elementary, middle, and high school spaces. And then they break it down by grade level. Here, K5, you had a 29 student change from your last projection. Last year's projection was 1278, and because of the FTE that you reported this past year, they're saying that for the next 5 years, you're probably going to have fewer K5 students than we expected last year. And you're going to have 12 less middle school students, but you're going to have 15 more high school students. Now, what's going to happen is, in Northeast Georgia, you're going to see there's trends. You're going to have a big kindergarten come in, and that kindergarten is going to progress its way through the system over a 12-year period or 13-year period. But then next year you may have a smaller kindergarten class move in. So this is going to project itself through that year. And so those numbers are going to change over each year as far as what grade levels need what students. So you'll see right now that you're showing that you actually are your 9 through 12 student body is greater projection than your middle school and elementary school. Obviously, those 9 through 12 age kids, there was a big bunch of those. If you go back to the birth year of those, you can probably go back and see, why was it we have so many 9 through 12 kids? It might have been a cold winter. But
March was slow.
And then your K5 students, 2008, the economy was bad. So that's an indication probably people were not having to choose to have kids because they couldn't afford them. So that's why your numbers are different. So that number is projected over 5 years, and that's the planning number that DOE uses to determine how many IUs you need. They'll just say, okay, you need more elementary students or classrooms, or you need more high school. You may need more high school spaces. So we'll look at that a little bit later. But as you can see, that's projected over 5 years, and that's going to change every year. They update this annually. So it becomes important to look at that number as a planning tool to see how many spaces we need. They break it down by grade level, as you can see at the bottom. And each grade level, there's kindergarten, they're saying you're going to have, by the year 2021, you're going to have 12 more kindergarten students than you had in last year's projection. So something to think about as your primary school is big enough to handle those kids. I think with the 10 classroom additions you made, you're probably in good shape. But what about that third grade? They're projecting 29 more third graders in 2021 than you got right now. Is your
Would
third
that
grade?
be 29 more than the 13 previous? Would the 13 be like 0?
Yeah, 29 students more than what they projected last year. They're saying that in 2021, you're going to have 230 third grade kids. So your staff needs to look at our third grade building and see what we got there.
On the 29 change difference too, it's very important to understand that they do not recognize pre-K.
Right. So if you're housing pre-K up there, that's a
Well, I know now.
We're not giving credit for that.
no great.
We have larger groups of kids, and I know that the principals shift teachers as the kids. I mean, I know one year there was 9 classrooms with one of my children, and then the next year they only needed 7 in that grade. So,
Right.
I mean, I think the principals do a real good job shifting our teachers.
Oh, it's amazing what the principals in elementary schools have to do. In middle school and high schools, not so much. High schools to a certain extent because you have to deal in programs. You know, how many students are actually enrolled in certain programs. But in elementary school, they have to be personnel managers every year to determine whether they need teachers from year to year. So, but that's what it shows you that, and those are 2021 numbers. So that helps you plan. That's the planning number that you use, and the state used to determine what are we going to need there, and how can we shift, or can we shift classrooms around to handle that growth, or can we not? And that's one of the ways you've got the 10 classrooms at the primary schools, because even though there's K through 5 kids, you didn't have that ability, because they're all located, that K through 2 group is all located there, you didn't have the ability to shift those people around to the other elementary school site. So that helped a lot. So in planning, looking at those FTEs is very important. Now remember, FTE is not a warm body count. That make sense? You were aware of that. FTEs are weighted students. And I think that a student that has a weight of 1 is like a what? A kid that's taking regular classes in 8th grade or 9th grade? I think it's 8th grade. That if you've got an 8th grade student that's taking regular course load in the 8th grade, they're one weight. When they get to 9th grade, they may be weighted more or maybe weighted less. A special ed kid can be weighted as much as a 10, I think. So it's like counting one person counts as 10 students. So it's important that you know that, because FTE is different than warm bodies, and those numbers are going to look different in different years too. Your warm body count may be a lot greater than your FTE, or vice versa. So, but planning, this is this first step in planning, and each year we have to go into the plan and do an adjustment based on what your FTE actually is and located. Now in Union County, since you don't have a whole lot of schools, it's not real hard to do these adjustments, because you only got 2 elementary schools to place those kids in, so you don't have to move them around a lot. But in a school like Forsyth County, when you might have an adjustment, you'll see all the adjustments here across these numbers. There was an adjustment of 12 in this grade. You only got 1 school to put that kid in, because it's a kindergarten kid. You got to put him in your primary school. And the adjustment of -42 in the 1st grade, it had to happen in your primary school. But in a school system like a Forsyth County, where you got 15 or 20 elementary schools, you have to be very careful and very knowledgeable about where you make those adjustments, which school, because that's going to make a difference in that area of whether you're going to need a new school or not, or an addition. So, but here the adjustments are fairly easy to make because you have new schools. But each year Chris and I and Keith, we work together to make sure those adjustments are made so that we know what our projections are going to be for the next 5 years. And we look at that as we start to plan. Your system need tab basically goes through each school and what the school is, what its FTE is for 2020 projection, and what is expected to be in 2021. And you can see the elementary school in 2020, the planning number was 631, but for the 2021 planning year, it's 645. So, and you have 34 earned IUs there now, and in 2021, you're going to have 35 earned IUs. So you're going to earn another classroom up there next year in the planning process. So you use those numbers to determine what your needs are as far as instructional spaces or classrooms in each building. You have 44 earned at the primary school, you have 49 available. So they're saying you got a little surplus there, but if you go up there and talk to your principal, they're using every one of those spaces, I can guarantee that. And there's a tab for middle and high school. We'll quickly show this. So you can see your middle school too. It shows that your FTE number, your projected number for 2020 was 657. We've lost some kids, so now we're only, for 2021, we're only expecting 645. And so, you know, and that's going to change next year, because based on what, well, you look at what your fifth grade is now, and they're going to be sixth graders next year, so it'll change. High school, you can see what it is also. Again, we can get really bogged down with all these numbers, but there's an awful lot of numbers in there. And then we come back to, and look at facility needs. Now, a facility is one campus. Although there may be lots of buildings there, like your elementary school has 2 buildings, it's still considered one facility. So you can look at that each classroom and the specialty areas. You can see that they list kindergarten through 3rd grade. Can you remember back a while ago when I talked about the size requirements for grades? That K through 3rd, 3 is 750. So you got 13 available classrooms there that are 750 or more. You got, and the other 26, there's 26 in there that are considered 4th and 5th grade classrooms that are less than 750. Now, we may have borrowed some of these to go up here. No, I don't think so. But that's where those numbers come from. You got 13 that are 750 square feet, and 26 that are not, that are less than that.
But
That's
according to
the
the
elementary.
state, those 26 would be at least 600, right?
Probably 660, at least 660 for 4th and 5th.
Okay.
You have an art rooms, you have music, computer science, and a gym, and a media center. So those are all recognized as needed spaces in your school. Because your FTE report was is 645. If it was below 450, you wouldn't earn PE or music or art. You have to have 450 kids in elementary school. And each school has its own thing. You got a high school facility that goes through each one of your classrooms, and especially classrooms there too. Middle school's the same way. And of course, primary school also. Now, what Chris and I and Keith do every year is we go in and look at what your classrooms are being used for, and making sure that, you know, if there's something that hadn't changed in the classroom. The state looks at your as-built plans, and they say, well, that room was built as a classroom, and so they're going to recognize it as a classroom, whereas it may not be used as a classroom at all. It may be being used as a something else, a conference room, or a pull-out room, or a resource room, or something else. Notice on this, on your middle school right here, you see a note right here that says there's a program need. If we go back out here and look, it says you have 6 science classrooms available. Science classroom in middle school has to be 1,000 square feet. You only have 6. You earn 9, according to the state guidelines, so you're 3 classrooms short at the middle school. So at some point down the road, if you chose to add 3 science classrooms to your school, the state will participate in the cost of that. That's a good thing to do, no, because, you know, you may want to build those 3 science classrooms. You're probably using some other classrooms as science classrooms now, but that are undersized or not recognized or not actually a science lab. So you may then have a need later on to actually put regular students in those, and you may need those science classrooms. Fannin County is a good example. I think Chris served on our facility team over there. They only have 1 science lab in the whole middle school. So we have put in their plan their program need, and as a result, somewhere down the line, they're going to make an application for a major addition at the middle school to put in those science labs. We're actually going to go into a wing of the building that exists already and tear out some walls and make it bigger and equip it as a science lab. And then we're going to build a regular size classroom addition. So this program needs, you want to make sure that you look at all your program needs as you do your plan. And then you'll see at the middle school, there will be a construction need tab, something in the construction need. Most of the time, all these numbers, the state and the square feet and the cost and so on, well, the cost is always going to be there, but these are always going to be zeros. But since you have a program need at your middle school, you have a need for 3 science labs of 1,000 square feet each. The state allots $80 for the cost of construction of that science lab. So they're saying that they will participate at $240,000 to help you build those science classrooms if you decide to do it. You're not in the situation right now that they're going to require you to do it, because there's usually like a 10% variance that they allow. So they're not going to make a big deal about you only having three needs. But if it went above that, they would start to ask questions. Why aren't we building those additional science labs? And so you can see that's a $240,000 participation at the state. It's a state of a cost. And if you go